Greetings fellow Whovians and welcome to Timey Wimey Review. My Doctor Who 60th anniversary celebrations continues as I look at the story celebrating the show's 25th anniversary, which was the 7th Doctor story, Silver Nemesis, originally broadcast on BBC One on Friday the 23rd of November 1988. Season 25 of Classic Doctor Who was a pretty good year for Doctor Who. It was certainly a massive improvement from Season 24, as I've mentioned in my Doctor Who Season 25 ranked video. Particularly, we had some great stories in there. The Happiness Patrol, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, and of course, Remembrance of the Daleks, where we had the 7th Doctor and Ace travel back in time back to Earth to stop a Gallifreyan artifact left by the Doctor from falling into the wrong hands. In this case, two Dalek factions battling it out and making sure that no one gets killed in the crossfire. If you don't know the plot of Silver Nemesis, the 7th Doctor and Ace travel back in time, back to Earth to stop a Gallifreyan artifact falling into the wrong hands. In this case, a woman from the 17th century, a neo-Nazi group that are wanting to resurrect the Fourth Reich, and these giant silver aliens known as Cybermen. This plot sounds very familiar. I can't believe that happened, but yes, does sound very similar, doesn't it? It does sound like a carbon copy of Remembrance of the Daleks. But is it a cheap imitation of that classic story, or is there more to Silver Nemesis than meets the eye? Please hit the subscribe button as I review Silver Nemesis. What this story did have going for it is the epic battle that took place at the beginning of part 2 of this 3-part story between the neo-Nazis, the Cybermen, with 7th Doctor and Ace ducking for cover, whilst the mysterious villain known as Lady Painfault watches on as they battle it out. It sounds grander in my head, but yeah, it is good. Obviously, keeping in mind it is tight 80s Doctor Who BBC budget money, but they do make it very impressive. I really liked the cliffhanger of part 1, where the Doctor arrives and with the basically it's a silver arrow, a bow, and the statue. Basically, the statue has crash landed, or this meteor has crash landed in this sort of airfield, and the neo-Nazis got a piece of the weaponry, the Doctor's got the other part of it, and they need all three to make the Silver Nemesis work and basically become this all-powerful weapon, pretty much like Remembrance of the Daleks. But anyway, back to the cliffhanger on part 1. Basically, the Flores ordered, the leader of the neo-Nazi group, ordered to kill the 7th Doctor and Ace, only for this giant spaceship to arrive, and it's the Cybermen. And it was, yeah, that was a pretty cool cliffhanger, seeing the Cybermen back since the previous encounter in Attack of the Cybermen. What would have made it a little bit more better for me is play out like they did, but just add in that extra scene where the Cyberman leader was talking to the Doctor, sort of the, "So we meet again, Doctor, and you are in a new form, but we are here to kick ass and take names." And then the neo-Nazi soldier shoots the Cyberman like you see in part 2, and then eradicate them. That should have been the cliffhanger sting, just to really sort of ramp up that sort of tension, in my opinion. But the battle itself was really well choreographed. It was a great fight scene, made it look sort of epic with the budget that they had. Lots of explosions, lots of sort of bullets flying everywhere. You got Lady Painfault with her bow and arrow shooting her gold-plated tips that was allergic to the Cybermen, and they all float down and die. One of them, though, I remember seeing, sort of falls to the ground and then just tidies himself up into, like, he didn't want to get dirty, probably because he had like 50 more retakes to do. The Cybermen themselves look amazing. They've had a bit of a respray. They're all in like sort of like a chrome silver now. Still the sort of classic 80s look of the Cybermen, but all pretty much looking like they're in chrome and just more sort of metal than the previous sort of outings. The only thing I would say is a bit sort of disjointed is they look great for the exterior shots and the outside, not so much in sort of more dimly lit areas. The they're kind of hard to pick out sometimes. There was a scene on the sort of gangway in the inside of the hangar, and yeah, you really sort of struggle to see what happens. There's basically just 3 Cybermen. She's got a crossbow, sort of a slingshot with 1 piece of gold left, and deciding what which Cyberman to destroy. Yeah, it's a pretty cool scene, but it's just wasn't overly lit. It's a bit difficult to sort of see with the shots how that all sort of played out. My guess is she fired at like 1 Cyberman, and then the other 2 Cybermen behind her, she ducked and they shot each other. That's it. It could have been done so much better if they had a bit more time. The other thing I found a little bit distracting with the Cybermen are their giant gloves. They look like they're carrying silver bananas in their hands. They're just really big. And I think they have like the 2 fingers are like just 1 giant finger. I don't see why that was necessary, but hey, what do I know? David Banks and Mark Hardy are back reprising their roles as the Cyber Leader and the Cyber Lieutenant respectively, and yeah, they're brilliant as always. Just nailed the voice and the mannerisms down to a T. I thought really Mark Hardy as the Cyber Lieutenant was getting a little bit more snippy with the Cyber Leader. You know, Cyber Leader retorts, "You should know your place." I really loved that. I really enjoyed Fiona Walker and Gerard Murphy as the Lady Painfold and her ward, sidekick, slave, Richard, whoever he is. Yeah, there was very much, it was the fun little moments in the sort of fish out of water scenes, because obviously they've traveled 200 years drinking this potion, and obviously the world has changed dramatically since their sort of time in the 1600s. And yeah, like the sort of just Richard like, let's just go back from this horrid place, and what's this foul smelling air, and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty good. I liked when they were confronted by 2 skinheads, 2 thugs basically. You know, you got any money, that type of thing, gonna try and mug them, and no, it didn't happen. Basically got strung up and their clothes being burnt. So they're strung up in their underwear, just to let you know. And I also liked Anton Diffring as De Flores, the neo-Nazi leader. He was pretty much, I can tell that he was sort of born to play these types of roles, and probably was typecasted with these type of villainous roles. He had bits to do, but not like tons of stuff to do. But with the material that he was given, I thought he did a good performance. Keeping the glue together is, of course, Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred, and throughout season 25, you really see their relationship blossom, this friendship, this companion, and kind of like, you know, a master and student, basically. Particularly the 7th Doctor, adding the more mysterious side to his persona. We're really sort of getting that back as part of the Cartmel master plan, the script editor for Doctor Who at the time. And this story in particular, this is kind of like one of the highlights for Silver Nemesis, as towards the end of this 3-part adventure, all the sides come together, basically all wanting the Silver Nemesis, and Lady Painful's basically revealing sort of like, Doctor Who, do you know who he is? You know, and Ace is going, no one knows who the Doctor is. Well, I do. I know his biggest secret. And Ace is going, no, you're lying. He's just a Time Lord. And just that nice little subtle movement from Fiona Walker there, just shaking her head. It's like, he's more than that. And yeah, it was never fully developed, sadly, because the show got cancelled a year later, but the winks and nods and the mystery behind the Doctor, I felt, was really starting to expand, and again got jump start into, well, not only the modern era of Doctor Who, but even the 1996 TV movie. Maybe controversially with the half-human side of it, but there's definitely something there in this particular story. back to Sophie and Sylvester. They really brought the fun element as well into this story, where they're all chilling out, playing, listening to jazz records and music, and jamming the cyber ships and the cyber leaders transmission by playing jazz music on Ace's newly rebuilt ghetto blaster from Remembrance of the Daleks. Nice little nod to that. And yeah, absolutely confusing the Cybermen. That was funny. That I did enjoy. The major problem with this story is that they had some fantastic scenes, some really good dialogue, but it fundamentally didn't go anywhere. So, for example, there was a scene between the Seventh Doctor and Ace is getting, you know, basically saying, "Professor, I'm really scared. I've never told you that I've been scared before, but this is, you know, frightening me." And the Doctor apologises and say, "Why don't you go back to the TARDIS?" And Ace just straight away goes, "No chance, Doctor, no chance I'm leaving you." But that never got followed up. This would have been better. That scene would have been better in The Greatest Show of the Galaxy, where we're talking about Ace's fear of clowns. That would have really added extra sort of weight to that story. But here, because it never got followed up, it just was a great piece, but just nothing happened. Same with Lady Painfold and Richard. Lady Painfold was pretty much going to get converted as to a Cyberman or got killed by neo-Nazis, and Richard rescued her and got her out of danger. And there was this conversation that they had with each other of, you know, why did you do that, Richard, when I treat you so poorly? And, you know, Richard retorts, "You're my lady, you know, I will die for you." It's a really good piece. Again, just never went anywhere, never got followed up on. So that's just such a shame. I'm going to give Silver Nemesis a TARDIS rating of 6 out of 10. It's a soft 6 out of 10, I have to say, sadly. There was some good stuff in there. It is definitely worth a watch on BBC iPlayer or on DVD or on Tubi TV if you're in America or Canada. Yeah, there's some fun moments in here. It's great dialogue and great chemistry between Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred. Brilliant to see the Cybermen back in action one more time. Some really good action sequences and music and sound effects. And yeah, I did like the action sequence between Ace battling the Cybermen. That was pretty cool. There's a really good directional shot where Ace is being chased down this this abandoned part of the hangar, and all the sort of explosions where the Cybermen are shooting their massive rifles now. The cyber rifles, that's what I call them. They looked quite cool too. But what didn't help, that one, it is a sort of more watered down version of Remembrance of the Daleks, and two, the story just didn't have any weight like Remembrance of the Daleks did. Obviously you had those great battles in Remembrance, but you had the underlying themes of racism and xenophobia. But here it was just basically 3 or 4 groups having a fatal 4-way. Just that was it. You know, there's no sort of just sort of cause for it. It would have been better if it had some kind of undertone theme going on from this story. And again, the lack of sort of like, again, what Remembrance of the Daleks did so well was having little winks and nods to Doctor Who's past. This had nothing. So I understand from a publicity point of view why Silver Nemesis was picked as the 25th anniversary episode or story to celebrate 25 years of Doctor Who. Obviously with Silver Nemesis, Silver Cybermen. But really, that title should have belonged to Remembrance of the Daleks. It was just that damn good. It really doesn't help this story when Ace says towards the end, "This is how you pretty much nail the Daleks. You did the same thing here. Rinse and repeat." Oh dear. But let me know in the comments below your thoughts to Silver Nemesis. Is it one of your guilty pleasures? Do you actually really enjoy this story? I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed this review. If you have, please like, share and subscribe. Hit the clock bell for more notifications. Come say hello and follow me on Facebook and X. And do check out my other fantastic Doctor Who related content on the Timey Wimey Review TikTok page and right here on the Timey Wimey Review YouTube channel. And as the good doctor once said,